What's up, and welcome to Nighttime at the Nerd Bar episode lucky number 13.
Oh my God.
Woo!
Oh my
Right?
God.
I was like, ooh, it's like special. I don't know. How do you feel about 13? I like it as a number. I don't think it's like a bad number. What about you?
I feel like I should have borrowed my roommate's Jason shirt for this.
Fair. All right. You're like,
Like, you want an
I'm
association? That's it.
Yeah. We'll be talking Demon Slayer, cool geek news and things, as well as other maybe movies, books, shows you should be checking out. I'm Carrie Lane. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching it live, please comment in our live chat. And if you're watching it later, same thing, comment down below. We want to know your thoughts on all the cool stuff we talk about, and throwing it over that way. Yay. I was like, wait, let's see which way my hands go.
Wait, it's reversed. Eventually we'll figure it out. And by eventually, I mean we relearn it every time we come back on camera. I'm Katie Cullen. Tweet at me.
Yes,
I like it.
Yes.
Tweet at me.
All right.
I say here, inviting the deluge.
Right. Well, you know what? So far, everybody's been really chill. So, you all are great peoples. We like it.
It's a bad thing. I just
I
like
know.
getting the little notifications and going, oh.
Yes. You're like, ooh, somebody said something. Yes.
Yeah.
Which also on that tiny disclaimer, we are talking about Demon Slayer, the show. So if you've read the manga, fantastic. But we are not covering that. So only what's on this episode. If you haven't watched that episode, go watch it because we're going to totally get into it. So
yeah. We're going to have a lot to say. So if you haven't seen it, like, take a minute or 30 to go see it.
Yeah.
And then come back for the VOD here. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, right before we started, I was asking Katie if she had anything she's excited about, and there's definitely something you're excited about. So, please tell us.
I brought a prop.
Props.
It is
cool.
very much a big Critical Role week because, for one, Tal'Dorei Reborn is out, you guys.
I was holding that.
It's you
nice.
can see how tiny it is. Look at that. It's beautiful. It is. If you are into Critical Role, if you want more about the campaign setting, and especially if you are a fan of Vox Machina, because all of the information in here is 20 years after the Vox Machina campaign ended. So there's information about Percy and Vex's family and what Grog is getting up to, and just all of that wonderful, crazy stuff. So if you wanted to build a character who's an Ashari, if you wanted to do a bard who is a College of Tragedy subclass, there's so much new and wonderful stuff in here. There's a fold-out map in the inside pocket of the front cover of the entire continent. It's beautiful. Look how thick this is. It's so big. It's one of those books that has a ribbon bookmark. Like, they did everything, you guys. It is absolutely beautiful. It has so much info in it. I saw someone say that it was required reading if you're a Critical Role fan. I'm not going to go quite that far because it is a huge tome. But if you want to set your campaign in the world of Tal'Dorei, or if you just want more information about the world that Critical Role takes place in, that. It is beautiful. And my copy was a gift, actually. And the person who gave it to me knows who they are, and I am extremely grateful. So there is that. And staying on the Critical Role train, Legends of Vox Machina, the animated series that covers the first campaign, or at least one of the best-known arcs of the first campaign, drops Friday. We are getting 3 episodes a week for, I want to say, 4 or 5 weeks. They are, the usual 22 minutes a pop, animated by Titmouse. If you've seen they released the voice cast, and of course it's all of our returning voice actors voicing their characters. I believe instead of doing every NPC under the sun, Matt is sticking with Lord Briarwood, but they got Stephanie Beatriz, and they got David Tennant, and they got there is a laundry list of amazing human beings. They have Grey Griffin doing Lady Briarwood, which I am excited about because Grey Griffin does wonderful, terrifying villains. And Lady Briarwood is right in her wheelhouse. So I'm very excited for this. I am definitely attending the Kickstarter premiere, which they're online. They couldn't do anything in person, which there's a pandemic, you guys. But yeah, the first 2 episodes, if you backed the Kickstarter, if you got your code, the first 2 episodes drop for you tomorrow. in a premiere. All 3 episodes drop for Amazon Video members on Friday. And again, we get 3 a week for the next few weeks. I am beyond excited. And my roommate who
I
has
couldn't
had
tell.
Yeah, no, really? Me? Nah.
What?
And my roommate who has had to listen to me be into Critical Role for, oh my God, 6 years at this point. I have convinced her to sit down and watch it with me. So it's like, congratulations, you are a critter by proxy. It's going to be great. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I was going to say, most of this, I'm just going to smile and nod because I'm like, not my wheelhouse of nerd, which is totally cool.
You should watch it too.
I'd be interested to watch the
show.
Yeah. It's just hashtag first world problems of too many things to watch.
You know? I know, right?
Giga Derek's in the chat. Woot woot says, I'm ready to rage on Friday. Woo!
Yes.
I know.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
So the mentioning that made me think though of, I did watch a show that was like the 80s, looking back at the 80s. It's hosted by Rob Lowe, and it's like I caught 2 episodes, and one of them was like the best like games, but it wasn't necessarily just like, it was like from board games to like games and toys.
Yeah.
And D&D was one of the top items, like on the top 10 list that like changed so much. And so I thought that was really cool. I'm trying to remember, Care Bears was on that list, Transformers. I was going to say, you can message me on Twitter if you want to know what the number 1 was, because I'm like, I don't know if I want to spoil it for y'all, but if you have a guess.
I mean, it says something for D&D. I don't know if you've heard of the Satanic Panic.
They do cover that in when they're breaking it down, and the Tom Hanks movie, and just like how, it's
Yeah. There was such a backlash against it, to the point where in the mid 2000s I had to I was like, yeah, I'm going to a friend's house. What are you doing? Tabletop, we're playing a game.
I don't think it was, I think it was still weird when I was growing up, of like considered weird. I mean, like if you played it, you weren't weird, but like the grown-ups might think of it as like, but it was like, there was that focus on the family episode, something about it. And you're just like, oh man, like imagination and the game, y'all calm down. Like, I think it's amazing to be able to create those kind of worlds and participate. I'm just really curious because I've never played, but from the outsider's perspective, I'm like, well, this is why I quit being an actor. I'm like, I can't get as invested.
We can fix
but
that.
I'm not against trying. Fair. You're like, we can fix that. Okay. I'll have to take you up on that somehow. Maybe.
Grab a few people and run a one-shot. It'll be great.
Fair. Leave comments. Have you played D&D, and what are your thoughts on it? And is it your kind of
Tell me about your characters.
Tell us.
Tell me about your characters. Race, class, subclass. Let's go.
Also, I think I probably just spend way too long picking what I wanted to be.
I mean, I could always prefab something for you.
Oh, that's fair. You could just pick something random.
Yeah, basically just tell me if you want spells or if you want to hit something till it dies, and we'll go from there.
And then are there hybrids?
Yeah.
Of that? Or do you generally pick one?
You can multi-class, and there's like, I've done Paladin before, and Paladin is equal measures healer and tank.
Mm-hmm.
So Paladin is fun. I tend to main Warlock and Bard because, 1, charisma caster, nothing like being able to lie to someone's face and then blow their eyebrows off. And 2, I love having the versatility and the range. They're not quite as utilitarian as your average wizard, but they're a little more fun for me.
The way you described that reminded me, throwback to when I talked about Wheel of Time. If you haven't checked out that show, it's really cool. I have not started the books yet. I do want to, but speaking of the show, there is like a bard character in the show, and he is a fighter too. And I'm like, yeah, there we go. That sounds about right. And he talks about like charisma and how you can captivate an audience. And I kind of like that. In a way, it felt kind of a D&D thing of like, this is Bard in real life of how it would work and like be on your campaign. So something kind of fun. If you've watched Wheel of Time, also let us know. Leave a comment. Yes. Shall we talk about Demon Slayer now?
Yes, let's do that.
Oh man, this I saw before I watched the episode. This is a lot of sounds together. Before I watched the episode, I saw Cheyenne online tweet. So she said she's also a really cool host, content creator. Go check her out. She was saying like it's very cinematic, like it's movie quality, and so I had that in mind going into it, and then I'm like, oh, it is like it's just so beautiful, and the fights are just like, I just want an even bigger TV to watch it at home.
Oh, we have a big TV at home, and just sitting back and being like, yo! Admittedly, going into today, first of all, today has just been like, but I'm sitting here going, I don't remember half of what happened this episode. And like, no, you remember what happened this episode. The gang got back together, the third eye opened, and the Sakuga kicked in. That's basically it. That's why you don't remember the details, because this episode was 50% Sakuga by volume, and most of that is just you going, whoa! So yeah, it's like, I don't remember all the details. I'm like, yeah, that's because it was pretty. That was the point.
It was so cool looking.
I'll tell you what, though. We are going to meet Uzui's brother. There's no way we're not going to. They gave us that little bit of backstory, and they gave him a whole-ass character design. So there's no way that we are not seeing him in the future. I am calling that now.
I was going to do a quick the more you know moment for people. If you do not know the word Sakuga, because I was like, my brain's not working enough right now, says in Japanese anime, a sequence of noticeably higher quality used to highlight a particularly important scene. I feel this is all the episode. It's always gorgeous.
Sakuga is when the budget hits. If you want a fairly solid in-depth video about the history, how it's used, etc., the YouTube channel Mother's Basement has a video all about Sakuga going into it. Highly recommended. Highly recommend that YouTube channel full stop, but the Sakuga video is very informative and very fun.
Nice. We got Tengen Vangerberg in the chat, says, a bonkers episode.
This is true.
Continues on to say the studio really flexed.
Yeah.
Yes. And I like this. Good to know. See, this is an okay example of how you can tell us stuff from the manga. They did Uzui sound breathing justice from the manga. Nice. That's always tricky of like, how well do they animate it from what you're reading to anime to live action? Because sometimes it's like my favorite little quick sidebar was Ouran High School Host Club. As people realize something very, very early on, if you've never watched the show, it's amazing. Go watch it. In the manga, they don't do a thing, but in the anime, they have light bulbs, like a light bulb turn on, because it absolutely makes sense. Like, ooh, I understand something. That would look weird on paper. So I was like, ooh, okay, that's a nice adaptation. So
yeah. There's the Demon Slayer hashtag is always fun to go diving in if you got to be aware of spoilers, and I hit one out of context at one point, so I'm like, well, I guess that happens at some point. Great. But, it's the Twitter hashtag. But sliding in there while it's trending after an episode has aired, about a couple hours after it's dropped, and seeing the people putting in the manga and anime comparisons so you can see the panel and then see the scene. People out there doing the Lord's work. But yeah, and there are some bits where it's like, oh, that looks like it might have been a little better framed in the manga. And some bits where it's like, anime did that better. Damn. But just the translation, being able to see that side by side. And it wasn't just for fight scenes. It was also for the beautifully heartbreaking Rengoku postscript. Oh my God. I don't usually expect to get stabbed during the post-credit scene, but here we are.
I was like, wait, what are we doing? Also his our flame boy coming back, and like he smiled like him, and I was like, man, the feels.
It's just like, hey, take care of the boys for me. And I'm like, but he's poisoned.
So this is another example, though, of the dead communicating with the living, which I think is really kind of cool that Demon Slayer is like exploring and having little bits, because
I don't think this was literal. Again, I'm very much coming down on I do not think this was literal.
Okay.
Uzui is well aware that these three were the last ones to see Rengoku alive. And he probably knew Rengoku. I don't want to be like, they were friends, but like, they were co-workers. They probably knew each
Colleagues,
other
yeah.
fairly well.
They admired each other's work.
They may have worked together at some point. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But suffice to say they knew each other. And Rengoku is the kind of guy who makes an impression. So there's no way that he is not aware that, the last Hashira they were with was him. They told us what happened. They told us how he held the fort in these fights. There's no way they're not comparing me to him. Like, there's no way he doesn't know that. And having that, these are your boys, and they're my charges now, and I need to, I don't think that conversation was literal. But
I feel it's open to interpretation.
Great. Oh yeah,
it was great. Yeah,
that's my interpretation.
Comments, let us know. Yes. No, it's great because it could go either way. Because it could be like your remembrance of someone, like that idea of you remembering someone and them giving you advice, but it's your own advice that you know. But through that form, it's easier to digest. We also got Tengen Vangaber in the chat points out, love seeing Rengoku so much in this episode. When Tanjiro saw Rengoku and Uzui, warmed my heart. Yes, when he has that smile, you're just like...
Me lying on the couch sobbing.
Right? You're just
like, excuse you, I came here to watch Gabriel fight Gabriel. Didn't come here for this. Like, sure, start the episode by stabbing me in the heart, give me another good one in the middle so I don't forget where I am, and the post-credits scene. It's the stab sandwich.
And then the other... Episode. And then in a different kind of stab way, but like warm your heart in a different way. When we got our Zenitsu and Inosuke showing up of like, we're here to participate. I was like, oh, look at you guys. Like, it's so nice.
Got the band back together.
Trying. Yes, it's like everybody all together. And Tanjiro standing in front of our Shira, like, I can do this. And you're like, yeah. Oh, no. Like,
I'm still standing, therefore. And Uzui looking at him like, oh, boy.
He's like, oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Oh, you shouldn't be here. Yikes.
But it's just,
yikes.
I'm liking that our side heroes, and I'm only saying side because like Tanjiro is kind of our point in the triangle. Yeah. The other two, I like that they finally are stepping up a bit more and not kind of wasting time in a fight. Because sometimes I felt early on Inosuke would kind of be like just too distracted with stuff. And it's like, no, they're like, you know what? We're going to go fight this one. You handle this one. I was like, oh, yes. It just makes me so much more satisfaction that like they're handling it and like being more professional about it. Because like that's their job.
We had that montage. We had that time skip. We had them like, we need to get better. We've seen the consequences. We've seen what a fight with an upper six looks like. Like, I do like that we've rolled that into here and that we still have, like, Inosuke's still Inosuke, Zenitsu's still Zenitsu, and sleeping Zenitsu is still better Zenitsu. Let's be real. But now that this fight has ramped up the way it has, the show doesn't bother wasting time. It's like, okay, we know the stakes. You know the stakes. Let's go.
Yes. And I thought it was so cool. I'm going to pull these back up again. Giga Derek says, boys rolled up and Zenitsu starting the fight with Zaki. Loving it. And I totally agree.
Oh, yeah.
Tengen says, splitting them up is so smart since there's two demons. Yes. Yeah. Because, why? No, like, don't
behead
need
them
to spread out
simultaneously.
Also, super shout out to the wives getting everybody out of town completely. I'm like, oh, finally. They're like, you know what? This whole town is probably a danger zone. Let's just everybody evacuate, please.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two that were up and about getting people out, and then the third one whose only job was, you need to recover from poison and not die.
She's like, I'm
showing up with the kunai rocket launcher, like, you called.
Yeah, I was like, oh, look at her. She's like, I'm going to help. I'm going to do something. I'm like, yes.
There was so much of this show. The pacing on this one was a little wild. Like, not a bad thing, but going back to D&D here, there's this concept of talking is a free action, where during your turn in combat, you have a certain number of things that you can do, but you can talk provided that you don't, like, monologue. So it's the idea of talking doesn't take up time during your turn, provided that you're not trying to intimidate someone, cast a spell, etc. talking is a free action and thinking is a free action was so much of this episode. We had Tanjiro running down everything. We had Uzui running down everything. And then we had, and I keep calling him Gabriel, and that's not his name. Gyutaro. Yeah. It is Gyutaro.
I was like,
I did love just at the end there with the kunai rocket. I keep calling it the kunai rockets because it looked like a rocket launcher.
Yeah, I go
watching that and going, well, that's a waste of an attack. Well, I don't have to worry if they hit me. Wait, this guy's not an idiot. Wait, hang on. And the implication that all of this going in slow motion, that he's thinking that quickly. Like, talking is a free action and thinking is a free action are one of those things that can get really old really fast, especially when you're moving in, like, DBZ time. But we're not. And this framed it well enough to be like, oh, okay, everything's in slow motion. This is the speed of his thought process, and we are showing it to the audience so they can follow along. Like, that, I think, was really well done. But holy cow, was there a lot of it.
Yes. And I love just even between Gyutaro and Tengen, like, bouncing off each other. How they talk to each other is so entertaining. And then also, anytime Daki joins in, and Tengen's like, shut up!
And she's
so her little her whining, like...
her little...
Tengen points out... go ahead.
She's a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to listen to, and I think that she is almost a better character now that she no longer has to be the main villain of the arc.
Yes.
We've introduced Gyutaro, the stakes have risen, he's the real threat here, and now Daki gets to be just her whiny, bratty, bitchy self, and it's wonderful. She's a blast.
Oh, I do. I like her more now, too, because I'm like, she's hilarious. Tengen in the chat says, Gyutaro voice is so fun to listen to. Great voice. His voice, how he's doing that is great, too. And Daki is just so...
She's terrible.
No one respects Daki in this house. Nobody.
Not
except
even
her brother.
No,
that's true. He's like, she sucks, too.
Her brother is taking care of her, but her brother's like, oh, yes, my weaker little sister whom I need to take care of. And I'm like, you don't respect her.
Such that he does third eye that he can see through her. He's like, you can't even handle it on your own. I'm going to watch. And I'm like,
but that also means your boy Gabriel has no depth perception.
True, because it's
one of his eyes. Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes.
This is all insane, and I enjoyed it very much. The thing that stuck out to me, because whenever Zenitsu does something good, it sticks out to me. And I'm sure eventually a Zenitsu fan is going to come along and take my head off for all of the shit I've been talking. Which, fair. You are absolutely allowed to have your favorites. Nobody has to agree. The bit where he's talking to Daki about apologize to the girl you hurt.
Yes.
And the whole, women are basically livestock in this town. They're property. Everyone does it. And him saying, that doesn't mean you get to do it to everyone else. Just this whole, hey, you have the ability to break the cycle of abuse. Like, I liked that. It's one of those things where I don't want to say it doesn't feel appropriate, because it's like we're in the middle of a pitched battle against demons with life or death on the line, and you're standing here saying, apologize. Like, it almost doesn't feel like the right time to do it, but also, when else are you going to do it? And he's right.
I like that was a way for him to be like, yeah, bitch, that's me. Because she's just like, wait, oh, you're that guy.
I venomed you once.
She's like, wait a minute. And I think it was great for him to say it. I thought it was really interesting for the show / if it's written in the manga, which I'm assuming it is, the commentary about like women are just commodities. And I was like, ooh, we're getting deep here too. Of just talking about it. This is a good point. True. Tengen says Zenitsu is the founder and president of the Protect Women Squad. However, I would add he also wants to oogle them and a lot of other things as well, but he does want to protect them. You're like,
That I was going to say Terry Pratchett style footnotes, but no, that needs some whole ass caveats in there because, like, y'all.
I appreciate it.
Uzui is the founder, and like,
Tanjiro's our one to protect everybody, so
yeah. But Uzui out here, like, no, my wives are amazing and they're wonderful human beings. And
his flashback too, when he's talking to, I'm like, it's been too long that I don't remember his name.
Yutaro.
Okay, yeah.
Just call him Gabriel. Who cares?
When he's talking,
like, his name's not Gabriel.
No. When he's talking in his flashback to the one at the Demon Slayer headquarters. That one,
Dad.
Yeah. Pretty much.
He calls like everyone his children Dad. He's Dad.
I'm gonna hold that real quick. Giga Derek says Zenitsu protects with air quotes and asterisks and subsections. Yes, fair. But that moment was really nice to see Tengen kind of, acknowledge it must have been, and then just again the anime taking a deeper level of, you know what, that probably was really hard for you to disconnect from the things you have been taught growing up as a child. And I'm like, ooh, real life metaphor. Is anyone listening? Guess what? You can change from what you've grown up with. It's okay. It's going to probably be hard, but that doesn't mean you can't do it.
Like, hang on, we talked about this in therapy. Like, yeah.
Master of the Mansion, Ubayashi. Yeah, thank you. There we go. Yes.
Yeah, I'm putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable, I'm sure.
Yes, but I'm like, yes.
And it was interesting in the flashback to see that it was just like a little bit on his forehead and that it hadn't completely taken his eyes
and not blind.
Yet.
Yep. Yeah. Also, though,
that's progressive.
That fan service of the wives of like the wind fluttering over the booty. I was like, okay. I'm like, all right.
Can't not.
Because we can. That's why.
We can't not.
Yeah.
Also, when we were talking about this show is obviously written by a man, incorrect. Evidently, the mangaka uses gender neutral pronouns and does not, if I'm recalling this correctly, generally doesn't like to appear publicly or be known, which is why we had no clue.
That's always interesting when different mangakas care about, wanting any public attention or not, because some are totally like, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, same. Fans can be intense, so I can get that they're like,
Again, if anyone has seen the latest Scream movie, if anyone's seen Scream 5, that Ghostface reveal and the monologues that go along with it, oh boy!
You're like, about that.
Yikes!
Yeah. I was like rewinding back to that. Yes, for those who haven't seen it yet. But yeah, I appreciate that flashback. It was again giving us more context on Tengen, which I'm loving him more and more. And him dealing, because you can see the poison happening, and he's like, it's cool. I'm Shinobi. I'm used to this.
I'm not poisoned.
Yes.
You're poisoned. I'm poisoned. Yep. Oh boy.
Yes.
Bravado it is, because I cannot afford it.
Yeah, no, he's like, I got this. Also, quick sidebar too, which in case people are wanting to watch the dub, yes, John Knight points out, hi ladies, all 7 episodes of Demon Slayer Mugen Train arc has been released in English dub on Funimation. So if you want to watch the English dub, it is available.
If you would like to cry in several languages.
Yeah, go back and be like,
yeah, just watch it again. I remember watching that first episode again, though. The one with the bento boxes and that would be fun.
It's gonna make me want bento. I'm like,
yeah, bento. There is a place down here that does good bento. We found it out, and they're on Postmates, which is like, thank God. And Crunchy, yep. Funny and Crunchy, because they're like this now.
Yes. Tengen points out in the chat, yep, Tengen really got to show out this episode. Yes.
And it was beautiful.
I like that. God. You and I both at the beginning, weren't sure about him, which I think that's a great job of the show to make you be like, and then make you be like, actually, you're going to love this one.
This guy drinks his respect women juice in the morning. He loves his wives. He's actually really cool. And he puts other faces like, oh my God. Like, coming off of Rengoku, it is so hard to find another one that lives up to that. And so we give someone where it's like, we're not trying to replace him. You're going to start off really disliking this guy, and you don't have to. And you know, my roommate's been calling him not Rengoku for most of the season, right up until we got the episode where he went, you know, I put you all in danger trying to find my wives. That was a mistake on my part. Your priority is to survive. You should leave. Like, when they started humanizing him, when we'd had enough time to kind of get used to him, and then like, oh, by the way, he's actually pretty great, and we're just going to slide that development in there naturally. And then you can have the flashbacks explaining stuff. So it's like, oh, you got me. Oh, I think if you presented me with another cool guy right after Rengoku, it would have just been like, no, stop replacing him in my heart. You're not my real dad. And then like, no,
but Rengoku going, you have too many wives was really funny. I laughed out loud. He's all, but you have too many wives. And I was like, okay.
I miss him just being that ridiculously straightforward, not gonna lie.
Oh man, he has no filter, which I do appreciate, because it's like, you know what, there are times where like we have put on too many filters in general, of all senses. It's like the idea, he's like a child where he just says it and means no maliciousness in any question or statement. And so it's like, hey, you have a scar on your face or something. Like, he would just say it and not mean anything mean or rude, but he's just gonna say it. And part of me really
when we
that.
see him on the train, he's just eating bento and yelling about how delicious it is. It's just like, okay. This is a guy whose passion has no time for filters.
No.
I miss him dearly.
Yes.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right in that the build up for Uzui was amazing. It's like, no, you've had enough time to fall in love with him. So now we're going to give you reasons to do that. Like, you've gotten used to the guy. Actually, he's pretty great. Here's how. It's like, oh, shit.
Yes.
Oh, no. Like him.
I'm like, but wait.
On the line.
Yes, I was like, but wait, won't it hurt that much more now if something happens to him? I'm like, no.
Yes. This show is extremely well crafted for maximum heartbreak. Very,
They're
very
like, hey,
good at that
in case you felt like you passed your heart back up, get ready. It's like, no.
My compliments to the chef. I'm dying.
Yeah.
No, I'm still in the I'm pretty sure he's going to survive camp. I think they put the poison in to ratchet up the drama because we managed to bring Zenitsu back from halfway turning into a spider. I think we can figure out an antidote for this.
True, that's a good point. I think Gigaderic says, now that we like him, how will they hurt him? I think they will. That's a good point. He'll probably get very injured, but Katie, like you're saying, I think like they have the ability to bring people back from pretty close to near death. So I have hope. Because also, as we pointed out, and he points out, Tanjiro's pretty much like, how is he still alive?
Just looking at Tanjiro like, you are running on spite right now, aren't you, buddy?
Yes.
You are running on shonen protagonist sense of duty and spite.
Yes.
Yikes.
So we also called it, so we need to behead both of them at the same time. So it's like, all right, how are we going to coordinate our attacks, which is what we were assuming.
Yeah.
I don't know how that was so hard to figure out, but if you're only one Hashira, I don't know how you would get both at the same time. So I think you would have just been like, sucks to be you. Because I'm like, how are you expected to do? No, like you can't be in two places at once.
Yeah, and we also got the numbers, and that Daki herself killed 7 Hashira. And
there was a lot.
Gabriel has managed
like 15. Yeah.
So I'm sitting here going, they are a multi-stage boss fight, and 7 Hashira did not get past the first stage. Because I seriously doubt that Daki got the final kill after Gyutaro had to come out in any of those circumstances, especially since he's the one with the poison. Pretty sure that, again, this is a multi-stage boss fight, and 7 people did not get past the first one, and there are no save points. Good luck.
So they had the moment where they mentioned Tengen points out like well, first Inosuke says he's like a praying mantis, and then Tengen says he really is. And I'm like, are we going to have a third beat that this is going to come back and mean something of how they can fight that technique or something, you know? It was just, I mean, they could just leave that. And it's just like an observation, like that's how he fights. Yeah. He's really like shoosh, shoosh, shoosh. But it made me go, ooh, I wonder if this will inform how they decide to counter it and fight it. But I do think, speaking of countering, I like that Tanjiro gets that moment of like, I need to fight it with water, of like, you know, it can't be just force on force. It's like, and I think Tanjiro is going to keep going on that form of kind of being able to switch between the different techniques, which is what will make him like the best.
Yes. Because I mean, supposedly, from what we know, if what we know is true, all of the different forms of breathing derive from sun breathing, which we are assuming I forgot the name of his techniques, but you know what I mean. Which we're assuming Tanjiro and Tanjiro's bloodline, etc., can do.
Yes.
Hence the sunrise earrings.
Yes. I like Tengen says, Hinokami for offense and water for defense. Yes.
Hinokami Kagura. That's right.
Yes. I think that'll be cool that he can do that. And I do feel he is, it's kind of like that good yin and yang of like where he can be flexible. So I think that's really cool.
And again, if all the techniques originally derived from sun breathing, then it makes sense. Like if he can do sun breathing, if that is what the Hinokami Kagura is, then it makes sense that other things would slot into there. I don't expect him to be the Avatar and pick up all of the different forms of breathing.
No, I think it's just going to be like the two. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
Anything else from... Whoa.
Yeah, the one other thing that just bowled me over this episode when Gabriel, when Uzui... I'm sorry. I can't not. They really need to have Ray Chase voice Gyutaro in the English, and he can just pull a Dan Green and yell at himself in the booth. Like, I need it in my life, specifically for that one stupid in-joke. But when they were having that conversation about, oh, you're cool and effortless and everything came easily to you, didn't it? And Uzui like, what? You are a sheltered child, if that's what you think. Pointing out that the Mist Hashira went from picking up a blade for the first time to Hashira in 2 months. What?
Yeah, I did like the kind of throwaway pieces of information. Be like, oh, by the way, and you're like, whoa, what? Can we come back to this? Like, more info, please.
That, read those subtitles again, and tattoo them into the back of my eyeballs like an upper 6 demon number. Because what?
Yeah.
Hey, what?
This is a point, speaking of our Hashira, which Giga Derek says, you'd think I'm saying it. We're going to say Uba for now.
Dad.
He said, Dad would be more aware of this with 22 Hashira totally killed by these two. I back to our thing of, how are they not aware that this is possibly a bigger deal? That they normally seem to be a bit more informed, and somehow in this one they're not. So I'm a bit like, I thought y'all were smarter than this. But
I think for this one, they just never got reports back. Like, I'm pretty sure that Hashira are, except for when they're...
Tengen says it was mentioned that in the Hashira meeting back in season 1 that it was the first meeting they had not had a new Hashira attending. So usually they get replaced a lot. So fair.
They seem to be, except for when they are told, you need to go here and take care of this. Hashira seem to be fairly autonomous. So, because this whole thing that's happening in this arc is just something that Uzui was doing on his own. He cottoned on that there was a demon here, brought his wives in to infiltrate, and then went, I have heard from none of my wives. This is a problem. I need to fix it. I want them back. I want them to be safe. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
So if everyone is operating autonomously, and you sit here and go,
That's fair.
They get replaced a lot. Someone who is probably some form of prodigy went from no swordsmanship to Hashira in 2 months. It gets passed down in family lines, like we saw with Rengoku.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's some amount of tradition, and also there's like 14 of them. So it does not surprise me that over the, let's be generous and say century, that the Gemini jerks have been operating, that they've killed 22 of them. Because they get replaced so often, because they die and no one ever knows because they're doing their own stuff.
Or it's so spread out too,
Exactly.
like as you said, of amount of time. So that's true.
Yeah.
John Knight points out and agrees that I hope Ray Chase will dub the Entertainment District arc.
I'm sure he'll still be Uzui. I just also need him to be Gyutaro. And for those of you who are like, what the hell, why? Last week I had a whole big spoilers for Malignant reason why that. Yeah. Yes. I feel like I need to clip that like 5-minute video and just put it up separately because that was everything. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he'll still voice Uzui though. Yeah. Like I would be very surprised if they recast him.
Yeah. No, but the question is just what I'm curious on that timeline of how quickly we'll be getting those episodes. But we're watching as they come out, so we shall see.
And this is not one of Funny's simulcast shows. This is one where they're taking the whole thing and then doing the script, doing the dub, etc. Because if it was simulcast, we would have gotten the English dub as it's dropping, essentially. So given the amount of time between we have the Demon Train arc and the Demon Train arc is now available fully dubbed, I'm going to go ahead and say a month. I'm going to say a month or two after this season ends. To do all the recording, to do all the, hey guys, I work in post-production. It's like, okay, how does this process work? And I'm looking at things going, okay, that's the timeline. That's what this looks like. That's where it goes. So, yeah, it just given the example that we have for the 7 episodes of this previous arc and I don't even know how many we have for this arc already. I think we're 8 in for this particular one. And we are looking
Well, I was like, we're
8 in for this arc. This week was episode 8.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking, oh.
Yeah, I know. What day is it?
No, okay. This week, month, time, weird. I was looking up images for the thumbnail and I looked up for episode 12 and no wonder I wasn't finding because it's our episode 12, not this season's episode 12.
I thought you said it was our episode 13.
No, 13. But anyway, when I was looking up stuff, it was not what
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel
things.
You. I think we're going to have 5. I just throwing it out there because things tend to go in arcs of seasons give us 13 or 26 or 51 or 52. 13 would also be my guess. Yeah. So we have 5 more weeks of 13. This. I assume. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do 5 more weeks of this without killing us all. But, oh my God.
Tengen says somewhere predicting for the English dub somewhere in March or April for this arc, which is roughly what we were thinking-ish. And then I do agree with this. John Knight says, kudos to English voice actors recording Demon Slayer 2 from home. This is true.
Yep.
That's definitely a lot of work. Tengen points out
are not easy.
Yes, there's a lot of difficulties. Which, speaking of that, go check out a previous episode I had with Alex Fun David and Jeremy Lee about we were just talking about Sword Art Online, but we also talked about how difficult it is to record from home. So go check that out on Fanversation as well. Tengen points out this arc will be 11 episodes total.
I was wrong.
So well, we're only
working this fight for 3 more episodes instead of 5. That seems a little more doable and a little less DBZ.
Yeah, that seems. I don't know and then also side note, this one I don't know the answer, but Gigadera says, did they redub the Mugen Train arc or just break up the movie? I would think they wouldn't redub it because that's just extra time. They would probably only do what they did for the film. And then add the extra scenes that were not included. Like, okay, it's like a pickup shoot would be my guess.
Honestly, I'd ask Funimation. I would not be surprised if they did a fresh dub.
They could have. That's true. But, it's time and money that, they could just be like, we already have it. So Good question.
I don't know. It depends on whether they still have those audio files, whether they're usable in the format that they're doing, whether the takes that worked for the movie work as well in terms of. Again,
there's a lot involved.
I work post-production, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. And remote recordings have made things a little wild. But yeah.
Just a little bit, yeah.
It's a question worth asking, though. I think that is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that would come up super often.
Because it is one of those, because it's so similar. So it is one of those, like, do you need to?
Because, like, Dragon Ball Super, they've been redoing the movies into episodes, but they've been adding so much stuff that you almost couldn't reuse the movie stuff. So I have no idea what they would do with something that's as one-to-one as this is.
Yeah. I don't think I had anything else left to say for the episode. Just it's really good, and I think I like the idea that there's only maybe a few more, because I don't think this fight will be dragged out a ton more. We'll probably be wrapping it up in the next 2. I knew, actually, when this one ended, I knew it too. I'm like, and cut, and that's where it was. I'm like, you cut, renew, and I'm like,
like, I'm sitting here going, there's no way that that's going to work, but I really want it to work.
Right.
Like, I want it to happen, but I'm like, there's no way. We're not done with the season yet.
No.
Me watching Mugen Train in the theater going, why are there 30 minutes left? And no. Having that realization of the movie's not over yet. What are they gonna do?
Also, so far in the show and the movie, they do a really good job of blending one into the next. So even if this is like ending the season, that doesn't mean it's such a like gap between what's going to be next. It'll be like, and we blend. Yeah. Well, Gigaderic does point out next episode is titled "Slaying an Upper Rank." True.
That could be a how-to guide, not a success story. There's a difference.
This is true. That's fair. So we shall see. Alrighty. So that's wrapping it up for our Demon Slayer coverage, which let us know your thoughts down below on what we talked about. So now we're going to get into some other stuff you should check out, because obviously you're enjoying Demon Slayer. You're here to chat about with us. Katie already mentioned the thing that she's excited about.
Also, you should
check it out.
Also, you should watch that Mother's Basement video on Sakuga. It is a great explanation, and he's got a good sense of humor. And if you're looking for a good Anituber, Mother's Basement is the way to go. His ones to watch are the reason that I picked up stuff like Banished from the Heroes Party and a few others. Like, some of them I'm still watching. Some of them are like, I tried, I stopped, whatever.
How many
His recommendation videos are good. His roasts are amazing.
Side note on that, and asking you all to leave a comment down below. How many episodes do you give an anime before you move on?
It honestly depends on how I'm watching it and how many are available. Like, if
let's say the whole thing's available
season's here.
Yeah.
Anywhere from 3 to 5.
3 to 5,
depending. 3 to 5, depending on, it's usually a 2-hour test, give or take.
Okay.
It gives you 2 episodes of any hour-long drama and 3 to 5 of any 22-minute whatever. I think the one where I gave it 3 episodes and then gave up because it was week to week was, what if a kid from the Endgame boonies moved to a starter town? It was something like that. One of those hilariously long light novel titles. And it had so many good plot hooks, and then it botched them all so thoroughly by episode 3 that I was just like, I don't care. I thought this was going to be a season-long plot, and you just dropped the twist like right here, and this is I was not, great premise, not impressed. So that one I think got 3, and I gave up.
A couple things from the chat. One, John Knight points out One Piece is back on Toonami. Sweet. Tengen Vangerberg points out, never listened to Critical Role, but Vox Machina looks cool.
It drops Friday on Amazon Video. Join me in watching it. The first 2 episodes are pre-campaign, and then after that, it's all Briarwood arc, baby.
Giga Derek says solid 5. Yeah, I'm probably around the same, like 3 to 5, because you can't do it off just the first episode, because so many shows really pivot, anime, live action, anything. They really can pivot from that first episode, or just give it so much more context after that first episode.
Or if it's Sonic Boom, it's a bait and switch.
That too, yeah.
Which was great, actually.
Yeah, sometimes that's a good thing of like, oh, that wasn't what I was expecting, but I like it. Tengen says, I do a lot of research before watching a show, so once I start, I'm locked in unless something awful happens. Fair.
I'm curious as to whether anything that you've researched like that has thrown you. Like, Tengen, I want to hear from you. Like, what's an example of something where you researched it, you were locked in, and then they did something and you went, well, actually, I know Game of Thrones is the gimme, but what else?
Giga Derek says too many reincarnated shows out, in my opinion.
Oh, that's just isekai. Dude, that is just the isekai genre. You got to find one that works for you.
I generally go off like what are my friends watching, and like if I generally vibe with their opinions. Just because they're my friend doesn't mean we like watching all the same stuff. Yeah. And which is fair too, because I watch plenty of things that maybe my friends, some friends don't. It's not what you're into. But like I watched, or it's on my radar that I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go check it out. Like one person posted about Skate to Infinity, and I was like, all right, I generally go by what's it look like. I don't really want to know anything on plot too much. I'd rather know as little as possible going in. I want to be surprised. But it's do I like what the art looks like? And that's what really kind of pulls me in. So Skate to Infinity, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this show. So I really like that one.
Honestly, a lot of my recommendations come from Mother's Basement. Some of his top 10 lists, or some of his, I like this anime, here's why. Overlord, I started watching because Mother's Basement made a video on it, and I was like, that sounds interesting. And then by the time they hit me with the ridiculous gore level in episode 3, I was already invested in the characters. Yeah. And now we're getting a 4th season and a movie, and I am so excited.
Fair. Tengen says Walking Dead's a big one. That's fair, because that's a show that I did really like for a really long time, and or shows like that. I was watching it regularly and then just kind of like fizzled out, and maybe I'll go back. But also said some true crime shows get too weird. Fair.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Walking Dead another one, the 60-minute depression hour, and I was just not into it after a bit.
That too. That's a really heavy thing to watch right now as well. So the other one, stuff you should check out. I started watching Kamisama Kiss season 2 on Funimation. So also, if you are watching that, if you click you need to watch the simulcast version, because if you do it with the uncut, the subtitles have like already the ones that are on it, and then add, and so it looks like this. And so I hope I'm not missing much watching simulcast versus the uncut, because with simulcast it's totally fine. It looks normal, it's easy to read, and you can watch it, and it's still good for season 2. I really recommend season 1. I can't say yet for season 2 because I haven't finished it yet, but Kamisama Kiss, if you want like a romance show that's a little on the spicy side but not too spicy, you should check that out. I also watched all of Arcane. It ends very abruptly, just heads up. This is someone who does not play League of Legends, so I'm like, I just know it's like how things got to where they are, but it still ends very abruptly that you're like, oh, I mean, okay.
Season 2?
Maybe. I feel it's one of those like, hey, this is how the world that you're gonna play started. Like, this is what happened before. So they could make a season 2.
I don't know.
But
I would be surprised if they didn't make a season 2, given how much they put into it, and given the explosive popularity it's been experiencing. Like, I'd be very surprised if there weren't another season coming down the line.
I did enjoy it. I have no attachment to the game, so I wasn't quite as like, but as an animated show, it's still cool and very interesting. I did think some of the kids stuff at the beginning was maybe a bit like, but once it keeps going, I did enjoy that, because then the kids stuff had the context. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
This is true. John Knight says simulcast is censored, uncut is uncensored. But if I can't read it, I'm just going to have to deal with it. And I watched the other one just fine, so I don't mind how much I'm missing. I don't think this show is very rated R, so it's more on like the PG into PG-13 dipping its toes. That's why I'm like just a little spicy. And then also another random one to throw out at you. It's a book I'm rereading, and I was just excited to reread it. Is Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin. It is a older science fiction. I say older because it's like the 60s, I want to say. And it is a science fiction thing where a human from Earth goes to another planet where people shift their sex throughout the course of their life multiple times. And so you could be the father of children and you could be the mother of children. And it's a really interesting concept because you have this human man interacting with these people that shift that. And so it has a lot about sexuality and gender expression and everything, and then also just the politics of that world. It's been a really long time, so I don't remember a lot, but I just remember that concept. I'm like, ooh, that's super interesting and really cool. And now it's interesting rereading it because him, the main character's perspective, talking about other people, I was like, ooh, this really is a man's perspective of just like how he's like, man, they're womanly ways or something like that. I'm like, really, dude? Okay. I mean, it's not too bad, but it is moments where I'm like, this is interesting I'm using the word interesting again. This is fascinating to read older to read again. Because I read it like in middle school or something, like really a while ago. But
it's always a little
really
wild to revisit something you read in your teens and then be like,
yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I remember that kind of point of view as much, but that's always kind of fun. And there we go. Another question for y'all to leave comments down below. Do you reread books? And if you do you ever give yourself like a time limit, or does not like you enforce it, but one of those, does it kind of happen naturally?
How many books does Katie have on her desk? 3, actually.
Well, Katie,
3.
do you give yourself a time of like, because I can't reread it right away, but maybe it'd be like a few years later, unless it's like a book to a book on tape. I might be able to do that a little bit differently, because when you're listening to it versus reading it, it's a different experience.
It really depends on the book and how I'm feeling. There has been a lot of comfort consumption of media during the pandemic because my brain does not have the space for new stuff between everything happening. Yeah. So part of that's why I'm going through all of my Discworld again, because the one I just showed, which is abroad, it has been years since I've read it, and it's all about fairy tales and the power of stories for good or for ill. And it's fascinating. I love it. So yeah, once again, read Discworld. Amazing. But I've also read Going Postal like 3 or 4 times since the pandemic started. Because Going Postal is really, really good. And it's got such a fun point of view character. And there's only 3 books from his point of view, but like, damn. So yeah, that is one that I go back to and keep going back to, and at some point I'm going to wear out that book, and that'll be bad because that is my copy from London 15 years ago. So that cannot be replaced.
That's another one too of like, does it matter? I just had this where somebody made a comment to somebody else at work of like, yeah, go outside to read a book. And he goes, he's younger and like Gen Z younger, and I guess that would age us. But he's like, I haven't held a book in a while or something like that. And I'm like, huh?
I mean, ebooks are a perfectly valid way of consumption. Audiobooks are also a perfectly valid way of consumption. And I say that as someone who just put in 5 holds at the library and is sitting here going, why aren't those books in my hands right now? It's because they're paper moving in a physical space and they have to travel to North Hollywood. So there's ups and downs to each. I very much prefer a good paper book, and I have too many of them, and I have too many of them for the shelf space that I have. So obviously that means I need more shelf space.
Right?
I'm that kind of book person.
Yes. I like physical books. I like audiobooks because I often drive long distances or drive a lot. And so having a book on tape has been a fantastic way to pass time. So some of those I've listened to more than once because, again, when you're driving, you're not really listening 100%. So it was nice to hear again. Or same idea, you've already kind of heard it, so you don't have to pay attention as hard. We got a couple people in the chat. Tengen says Mort from Discworld was a good book.
Oh my God, yes. my favorite Discworld book is a death book, but I never recommend it as a starter because it's one where you want a few under your belt so you really get the impact. For those who have read a good amount of Discworld, Reaper Man. Reaper Man is my favorite Discworld book, and it knocks me sideways every single time. Do not start with Reaper Man, but it's amazing.
Goes on to say, I read Dune for the first time when the new movie came out. Awesome.
Fair.
That was one that I listened to it as a book on tape. I'm pretty sure I read it as a physical copy, but both those times were like a really long time ago. And then I was rereading it for the movie, but I only got about halfway before the movie came out, but it was still cool to reread it. And then said, also been listening to Sandman audiobook. Nice.
Ooh, is that the Amazon one with the new recordings and whatnot?
I was excited to see that one. I'm like,
yeah.
Gigaderic says, I reread the Artemis Fowl books a few times in a week. Nice.
Also fair. Comfort reads and good ones.
Those are good ones. I think I listened to at least one Artemis Fowl book as a book on tape, and that was cool. Like, it was the only one the library had at one time, and I was like, sure, I'll check it out, and it was fun. Yeah. Alrighty. So thank you for, I like that. We cover everything on the show. If you are new to this, welcome. We talk about books, we talk about games, movies, anime, all the nerdy things, the geeky things. So yeah, welcome. I was just trying to remember, there was a comic strip that's like, what's the difference between a nerd and a geek? And I think it's like, geek is pop culture, nerd cares about the definition between those two, so it's more like academic, and they're like, oh, you're such a nerd, and like walks away or something silly like that. I'm like, they're both kind of synonymous for me. Just gets extra hashtags when you're trying to tag it on Twitter. I'm like, nerd, geek, yes.
Visibility.
Whatever gets it on people's radars. Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us on our Lucky 13 episode for nighttime at the Nerd Bar. And wait, you know what? Maybe you are right. Like, this is 12. I don't know. This time is weird, right? I'm like, is it
12?
I was like, was last week?
Like, are you gonna go look? Are you gonna
go
look? You're gonna look
right now.
I'm gonna go look it up. Okay.
It's that kind of week, y'all. I don't know about you. Or month. No, it's 12. Yeah, and I wrote 12.
We've been 12. We've been 12 this whole time.
That's all right. We only said it at the beginning and at the end.
There is no missing episode. This is episode
Don't worry,
12.
y'all. This is 12.
We're all just really tired.
Yay!
I feel that in my soul.
Right? It's just, it's okay. Everything still is relevant to what we said, just what number we gave this.
Yep.
Yep. Also, welcome another new person. We got Lewis Cox says, hi, everyone. I've been liking Book of Boba Fett. That has been a fun one.
Yes.
It's been interesting, though, seeing people get salty about it. I'm like, calm down. There's some people that get really salty about that show. But I kind of like that not everybody loves it so much, because I have not seen like any spoilers compared to like Mandalorian coming out, and I'm like, I kind of like that. I'm enjoying this spoiler free.
I think the issue is that there was some exploration of Boba Fett in the Star Wars EU, like the novel series that Disney kind of dumped when they made the new. So I think, for one, I think there are some people who are really into that version, which is absolutely fair and valid. And there are some people who see him as this very specific first-person shooter protagonist model of weird masculinity who are not happy that this is a show about a guy learning about other cultures and like attempting to find himself after getting fucked over by his employer. And honestly, I think it's great. I
think it's a really good show.
I love the stuff they're doing in the present. I love that we get to see more of the culture of, I think we're in Mos Espa. Mos Eisley is the other one.
It's just a different tonal show than the other ones. And that's great. You know,
the musical sting at the end of this episode, I about lost my damn mind. And no spoilers for people who haven't seen it, but for the people who have and who know what it means, amazing. Just the way that this is all woven together, and so many of them have such unique, distinct identities that the second it's like, hey, it's like, I'm picking up what you're putting down, and all it took was an instrument. Yeah.
I think it's fine to have shows change the vibe, because it's not the other show. It's not Mandalorian. It's Book of Boba Fett. It's a totally different vibe. I agree. I'm enjoying it a lot, and I look forward to watching it, and I'm glad. Thank you when you're not doing spoilers, people, because don't do spoilers. It's like, not that any of you are, just saying, but we appreciate it.
Yeah. And for those of you who tweet your spoilers in base 13, also good. Because that just looks like gibberish on my timeline, and I have to do the work to get spoiled. So thank you.
Yes. Alrighty. Well, thank you again for episode 12.
Yes.
12. I guess it is lucky 13 because we'll get it twice. So, that'll be next week. So
go.
12. 12. Yes.
We have fun here.
We do. We have fun. Thank you again all for joining us. Leave comments down below you thought on all the different topics we covered. Give the video a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button. And Katie, where can people find you online?
You can follow me all over the social media as well as on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet, Kiaxet. I am working on getting a little more stuff on that channel. It's been a little slow. Things are a little wild. However, on our sister channel, Silver Screams, I did sit down with my roommate and do about an hour's worth of reviewing of Scream 5. The first 20 or so minutes are spoiler free. The rest of it would go a little nuts. So if you have seen the movie, drop by. If you haven't seen the movie, drop by for the first 20 minutes. It's a legitimate strategy. And then if you feel safe enough to go into theaters, go see the movie. But yeah, that's the newest thing we've got going on right now, and that is on YouTube channel Silver Screams with an N.
Well, I was like, what would you? Because it's not screen. Scream. Yes.
Yeah, Silver Screams.
Yes.
With an M, like.
And you all can find me online. There we go. Over here. Carrie D. Lane. That's Karidlane. Across Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the things. I left it down below in the description. Interview covering the movie Belle, as well as link to my review on that film. It's amazing. Go watch it. I'm so happy that many of my friends have been able to see it and are enjoying it as well, because it's so nice when you really enjoy a movie and other people like it too. You're like, oh, good. You get to share in this awesomeness too. So go check all those things out. TikTok also has some voice actor-y stuff, anime stuff, as well as on my Instagram, interviews one-on-one with voice actors. And you can see more here on this channel with us and others. So yes, check it out. Welcome. Yeah. And then we'll be seeing you again next time. Thanks for being here.
Subscribe, all that fun stuff. You know how that works.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then sayonara, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.